Well, welcome back to 40 Days with Henry. We are on March 25th, and the passage for today is called Healing Touch. Henry writes, touch, yes, touch, speaks wordless words of love. We receive so much touch when we are babies, and so little when we are adults. Still, in friendship, touch often gives more life than words. A friend's hand stroking our back, a friend's arms resting on our shoulder, a friend's fingers wiping away our tears, a friend's lips kissing our forehead. These bring true consolation. These moments of touch are truly sacred. They restore, they reconcile, they reassure, they forgive, they heal. Everyone who touched Jesus and everyone whom Jesus touched were healed. God's love and power went out from him. See Luke 6, verse 19. When a friend touches us with free, non-possessive love, it is God's incarnate love that touches us and God's power that heals us. So a lovely passage, again in this theme of friendship, which we've seen carried over for several weeks. And when I read this, the first thing that I thought of was the impact that L'Arche had on Nouwen. Again, this book, Bread for the Journey, is written during his sabbatical year in 1996, so just the year of that he died. And so he'd been living with L'Arche for quite a while at that point. But L'Arche was this incredible place of healing for him, because if you know Nouwen's story, Nouwen was always a very driven person. He taught at Harvard and Yale, Notre Dame, and he was a renowned speaker and author, and he always had a sense that he needed to prove himself. He always needed to prove himself worthy of the accolades that he was receiving, or in some sense, combat, because he was a needy fellow, combat the rejections that he felt so deeply, even if they were just not true, but that's kind of who he was. He was a very anxious and nervous kind of person because of that. And so he went to L'Arche, and what he found in L'Arche was this ability to stop his striving, because particularly within his relationship with Adam who couldn't do anything, Adam who had to be fed and bathed, and Adam who he lived with, Adam and all of the residents in L'Arche didn't care that Nouwen wrote books. They didn't care that Nouwen was brilliant and was a speaker and jet-setting all around. What they cared was that Nouwen loved them and loved them deeply. And for Adam particularly, how that was shown wasn't through words. It wasn't through conversation. It was through touch. With Adam, Nouwen needed to stop doing and just be with him. And that became a very profound teaching moment and teaching relationship for Nouwen. And I hear echoes of that here. This brilliance and this miraculous nature of just human touch. And I love how it begins. The touch speaks the wordless words of love. It is this embodiment of love and grace, just these gentle touches, or rubbing someone's back, or wiping away tears, that it speaks more profoundly than what we could ever express in our words. And Nouwen is saying something really, really deep and really, really profound in the midst of this when he says that when a friend touches us, or we could say a spouse touches us, or a parent touches us, or when we touch our children with non-possessive love, there's a caveat there, but when this happens in the most truly authentic and loving way, this is God's touch. You are being an instrument of God touching someone's life, of God reaching down into whatever situation they're going to or going through and touching them with grace and, he says, healing and power and love and forgiveness. And that's a beautiful thought, because sometimes we think, or we don't know, what are we going to do for God in this world? We struggle with, what is my ministry? What is my call? Or something like that. Or what does God want me to do? And sometimes when we think about being a witness for God, we only think in terms of actions, in speech, and all of this kind of stuff. Or these big extravagant motions and programs and things like this. And so I love here that it is rooted in just this call to reach out and lovingly touch those who may really feel that they need it. Jesus was constantly reaching out to people whom nobody else would touch, right? The touchless, the lepers, the infirm, the sick, everybody else who had to stand far away from people and say, unclean, unclean, stay away from me. Jesus went to them and reached out to them and touched them. And so perhaps that's the call for us. As we go through this time of Lent and as we examine ourselves before God and we examine our Christian lives, maybe just ask ourselves, how might I express healing touch this week? Who might I be called to embrace? And again, the caveat is that this is non-possessive. This is not about us. This is not coercive in any way, right? It has to be done in the safety of safe relationships. But who might we just embrace or place a hand on their shoulder or something like that? Have this physical touch as a communication, not just of our care or our love, but of God's love. One of the things as we get into the journey of the cross is one of the things that we see is that it is profoundly physical. Right? It deals with, flesh and bone and water and blood and sweat in all of this. And our Christian life has to be physical as well. It has to deal with the physicality of our lives and how we live out our Christian faith. And so maybe physical touch is a really important part of that. Well, those are the reflections for today. God bless you as you continue on in your journey of Lent, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.